What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we're going to be checking out the brand new Samsung Galaxy A42 5G. Now, this device, of course, is the successor to last year's A41, but rather than just offering a handful of upgrades and new features, this phone has some changes that actually make it pretty different from its predecessor. I'll go over everything you need to know about this new phone here, but first things first, let's go ahead and unbox this thing and see what all comes inside the package. Now, on the outside of the box, you can see we've got basically the same design and theme as last year. My A42 5G is the new Prism Dot Gray color. It's also available in black or white, but that's it as far as the color selections, at least right now. The launch price for this phone is going to be around $330, depending on where in the world you live. And if you're interested in doing some comparison shopping of your own, I'll leave some links down below in the video description to all the deals and discounts for this device. So cutting through the sticker and pulling off the lid, you can see that the first thing we're greeted by is the phone itself. Right off the bat, I have to say I really do like this gray color. It's certainly something that's a little different. We'll set the phone to the side for just a second, and digging a little deeper inside the box here, you can see we've got quite a few accessories included. The first is the older style 3.5mm Samsung earbuds, which is a nice addition at least. Also included are USB-A to USB-C charging cable and a USB wall plug. And inside the lid of the box, actually, we have a couple more things. Stuck to the outside of this cardboard packet is the SIM ejector tool if you need it. And inside the package, you'll also find an included clear case to protect your new phone. This is just that simple, rubbery, flexible case. Nothing too special. We've seen it before, but it's nice that it's still thrown in. And last but not least, you get just a couple extra pieces of paperwork and information. So with all that stuff out of the way, here is the new A42 5G. And for those of you who are familiar with last year's A41, I think right away you can tell that not only did this phone get redesigned a bit, it's also a totally different size as well. This is now a 6.6-inch smartphone, a stark contrast to the fun-sized 6.1-inch A41, which I think was one of the more appealing characteristics of that device last year. This A42 5G is now in line with the bigger A-series devices in the lineup. It basically falls between the 6.5-inch A51 and 6.7-inch A71, and to me, this change is actually a bit of a bummer. I liked how the A41 was so different in the lineup, given its small, compact size. And now this A42 5G is just kind of another big phone in Samsung's big phone lineup. Up front, you can see we've got a similar design still, with a camera notch across the top and slightly larger bottom bezel. All around, you're getting about an 84% screen-to-body ratio, which isn't quite as good as the higher-end A-series phones, but still pretty respectable. And around back, you can see that for this year, Samsung decided to alter the design and finish of the housing just a bit. I already mentioned the gray color, which I think is super nice, but you also get that shiny rainbow effect once again here on this plastic housing. And as the name suggests, a sort of dotted pattern running from top to bottom with a bit of a fade. It's not too different from last year's phones. You can see it's sort of similar to the A71 5G with its glossy plastic back, but compared to the new A12 we checked out yesterday that has a matte plastic finish and textured design, I think this A42 5G does look quite a bit nicer in comparison. You've also got a polished frame running all around with a subtle curve and contour to make the phone feel pretty slim. And if you're curious, here is what the included case looks like thrown on the phone. It covers all the important bits like the sides and the edges. It's got a raised lip to protect the screen a bit too, and obviously you can show off that new color. All in all, nothing we haven't seen before, but nice that it's still included. Taking a look around at everything else, on the left side you've got your SIM and SD card slot, dual SIM support or one SIM and one SD card. On the right side there's the power and volume buttons in their usual spot. Across the bottom you'll find a headphone jack, USB-C charging port, and single speaker setup. To me, this sounds about the same as any other single speaker on previous Samsung phones. Here's a quick sample so you can get an idea.
There's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right.
Across the back, we've got a slightly upgraded quad lens camera setup and flash just below it, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And up front, there's the selfie camera like I mentioned before, and the earpiece just above it. Underneath the display on this A42 is an in-display fingerprint reader. And to me, this setup feels pretty good, actually. It seems to me a little quicker and less finicky than some other readers I've tried. I can't say for sure if it's any different, but it feels better than like the A51, for example. And at least with my initial impression so far, I have no complaints. I'm kind of surprised at how good it seems. You also get face unlock here as well, and that too is plenty fast. So either way you go, you're getting into your phone with ease. Now, I already mentioned that this A42 5G is quite a bit larger than last year's A41, 6.6 inches, but there's something else here with the display that's changed that unfortunately is a pretty big negative. This A42 offers a Super AMOLED panel, but it comes in at a resolution of 1600 by 720, packing in just 266 pixels per inch. Last year's A41 had a full 1080 resolution Super AMOLED screen at 431 pixels per inch. And to put it lightly, I don't really understand what Samsung was thinking here. If they went from, say, a 720p IPS LCD screen to a 720p AMOLED, that would totally make sense. Or even a 1080p LCD panel to a 720p AMOLED, I would probably accept that too. But this is literally just a straight downgrade. There's no debating that, and I just don't really get it. They're taking away something they had already offered last year. Besides that, this A42 is at the upper end of the A series lineup. There's technically only 2 phones right now above it, but 5 phones below it. So it should be better for sure. And furthermore, this device is well over $300 still. It all just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I'm really surprised Samsung did take this route because it's probably the biggest negative about this phone that's hard to justify. Yes, the AMOLED screen in general is bright, it's super colorful, it's very vibrant. It looks great from a normal viewing distance, and the angles are on point too. But at this size, you can definitely pick out the pixels. There's no hiding that. And at this price point, I just don't think there's any excuse. Samsung has done this sort of thing before, essentially downgrading a new phone from the previous year. And in my opinion, this is a pretty egregious example of just that. Now, fortunately, inside, this new A42 5G is powered by a really solid array of specs. You get the newer Snapdragon 750G chipset and Adreno 619 GPU, the choice of either 4, 6, or 8 gigs of RAM, and 128 gigabytes of built-in storage with that option to shove in an SD card if you need it. Collectively, this phone is a powerhouse of a device with everything you could ask for and more at that $330 price tag. Android 10 and the full One UI 2.5 ship with this device. There was also an additional update waiting for me as soon as I set it up, and out of the box at least, this is a fast, fluid, and very responsive feeling smartphone. While the processor isn't quite as good as, say, the 765G, it's certainly more than enough for this device at this price point, and it's prepped to handle anything and everything you throw at it. It's also technically optimized for gaming, so those of you who are maybe looking for a sub $400 gaming device, this could be a solid option, and I'll certainly put that to the test in the coming days. But I think out of everything so far, it's these internal specs that really do propel this phone even further, and I'm excited to see what all it can handle. I should also note, obviously, that this is a 5G ready phone, which may or may not be useful for you, but if you live in an area where 5G is available, you don't have to pay flagship prices to utilize that. This A42 5G, at least right now, I believe is still one of the cheapest 5G phones available. So just one more reason to maybe consider this phone. Another area where this device saw an upgrade is with the battery capacity. A larger phone obviously means more space for a larger battery, and this device packs a 5,000 milliamp battery inside, way bigger than the A41 from last year, which had a 3,500 milliamp battery in its much smaller frame. The downside here is that you only get 15 watt fast charging support, but to be completely honest, I could see this phone plowing through a day's use and then some, no problem. So I can't imagine you'll spend too much time on the charger to begin with, and I guess if there were one plus side to the increase in size, stuffing a much bigger battery inside would be it. Finally, let's talk cameras. This A42 now has a quad lens setup, which includes a slightly upgraded 48 megapixel main lens, the 8 megapixel ultra wide lens, 5 megapixel depth sensor for portrait shots, and now a 5 megapixel macro lens. In addition to some hardware changes, you also get a new array of capabilities, including 4K video recording at 30 frames per second and slow-mo 720p at 480 frames per second. The whole suite of Samsung camera tools is pretty much here, and I'm really excited to put this setup to the test. The selfie camera to me also seems pretty solid so far. It's a 20 megapixel shooter, and just some initial shots here, they do look really good. There's plenty of detail, even with Samsung's usual face softening. Portrait shots look okay, my hair gets a little lost there, but the rear camera I think really has some potential. All in all, I'm definitely looking forward to putting this to the test. I think for the price tag, there's certainly a lot to utilize here with the cameras. So like I mentioned at the start of this video, the new A42 5G in a lot of ways is a newer, better phone. You get plenty powerful internal specs. That's certainly an upgrade over last year's A41. There's improved camera capabilities and hardware, a fresh new design, but the bigger size may not be so great if you liked the form factor of the smaller A41. And that screen downgrade is just a tough pill to swallow, all things considered. After all, that is what you're looking at when you use any phone, so it could be a deal breaker for some people for sure. So those are my initial thoughts and first impressions on this new Samsung Galaxy A42 5G. I'm definitely looking forward to putting it to the test in the coming days and featuring it in some future videos. But what do you guys think about this phone? Is it something you're considering right now? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.